Mr. Weedy coming at you live from 6th Street, appropriately hungover. I just got back from Whole Foods where my eggs, I had some eggs this morning. My eggs are cage free because I don't want my chickens to suffer before I kill them. Look, it's Yoggers. Oh, check this out, check this out. So on the last, or actually not on the last video, but on the very first video that I did for this street, I had some people in the comments section talking about how, you know, they were pissed off that the graffiti had been, you know, wiped out, and I've got my own thoughts on that, but I don't know, if I'm a small business owner and I come down here and I don't like it, then it's my right to block it out. I certainly think that America could use more art. So I'm going to show you some of that graffiti down here. So here we go. Pretty cool. I cannot tell what this phone is capturing, so I'm just going to try to get it as best as I can, my bestest. Not all heroes wear capes. It's pretty cool. Laced and found, keep hope. This one's been up for a while. This one's pretty badass. Check it out. Look how they got that hook together, man. Like she's listening through one can, and then over here, the Viking chick is talking through the other one. It's pretty dope. You know, Americans are derided, as I was told from my childhood, as basically being a nation of merchants. And one of the cool things, that's what I was told anyway, that Europeans call us, because all we care about is selling shit. And I think there's a lot of truth to that. I certainly think that we could use a lot more art, you know? For sure. Saw some people running by earlier. Lots more traffic on the road. Lots of traffic downtown yesterday. So Aaron's is really boarded up. My goodness. Some good art kind of put out, which is great. I love that. Looks like some homeless dudes down here hanging out. I've seen them down here before. This one's cool. Check in on your neighbor. I like that. That's awesome. Amigos. That's the thing, man. I miss like hanging out with my friends. It's cool to talk to them and text them and shit, but like when I'm texting them and I'm drunk and I lose the thread, they can't like punch me on the shoulder and say, hey, what? Look at this over here. Looks like they're filming a concert, right? Look at these dudes. That has to be what they're doing. I come out here on 6 and I see like other photographers and people trying to capture what's going on down here. It looks like it's getting ready maybe to wake back up again. This is some of my favorite color right here. Look at that orange and that blue-green. It's just awesome. This is pretty cool too, actually. A little Bowie-ish, right? You know what I'd like to see? I'd like to see an Instagram account, and they probably have 1,000 of them, but a really big one for Austin's homeless. It's one of the things I think about, you know, when I was mentioning like why they put them next to 6th Street, you know, and I think it's because you can feed people, you know, and you can shelter people, you can give them clothes to wear, but you can't. And this is one of the biggest challenges, is mental illness, you know? You can help too with even with drug addiction to some extent. But getting people who are mentally ill to take their meds is one of the largest challenges out there. You know? How do you enforce that? Because they're not in control of their own behavior, right? The ones who are not, then how are you going to control it? That's what I think is a lot of it. I mean, that's huge. Look at these buildings down here. Kind of stalled a little bit, but you still see workers working up here at the top. You know, when I first moved to Austin, people would say to me, they'd say, oh, you know, it's changed so much. I moved here like 25 years ago. And I was young, you know, still young, but like, I was really young. I was like in my early 20s. And I just thought, what a bunch of, I was like, what are y'all talking about? You know, because some coffee shop, Les Amis, had closed, and, you know, they were talking about like, really sad, talking about these different, it just makes everything I'm saying sound so irrelevant when you see that on the street. I thought, why are they talking about these restaurants and bars and these places and live music venues that are closing and being taken over? I mean, why does that matter to a bunch of old people, you know? I'm like, they need to wake up to the fact that change is constant, my friend. And then now that I'm like older, it's just because a big part of Austin's culture is its restaurants. It's restaurants and it's bars, you know? So like when they go away, then you lose part of that culture, you know? And I don't know what you can do about it. You can't get the state and local government to go into the restaurant business, you know? But what you can do is you can make it a pain in the ass to tear something down and put something else in its place, you know? You know, they have a mandate in New York City, which I think is a little too late because it's so gentrified there, in my opinion, where you have to dedicate a certain percentage of the building to what you've torn down. So what the city does is it buys the space or the air that's above the structure, whether it's a restaurant or a bar or whatever that's been there for a long time, and they own that space, that air that's above the building, and then they charge the new constructor to say, hey, if you've got, like, for example, the old Dog and Duck pub with the Dog and Duck fountain that's out there, then you're also going to have something similar when you rebuild your building, which I think is great. I think that's a great idea. Yeah, it's definitely more lively down here. It's just less dark, you know? It's a real shame. I was telling a buddy of mine how, like, spring is my favorite weather in Austin, because it's like you get like this, almost like this California weather, like San Diego-ish weather. It's a little bit more humid, admittedly, but like you get it, but you're still in Texas, which is great. It's fantastic. So me and a friend of mine are saying we're going to have to call in sick for 30 days the next spring to just make up for the spring that we're not getting to have this year. Look at all this building. Look at all of this construction. They're telling me that they're gonna tear down 6th Street, you know, put up these buildings. I don't think it'll happen because the buildings are so old. That's another awesome thing about this town. You know, I was talking to people, I was like, what happened to New York City, you know? And they were like, well, not every city in America that's happened to. And I'm like, well, name one. And they're like, Boston. Boston hasn't happened to. It hasn't been gentrified to the point where you remove the color, you know, of the town, right? The culture hasn't been taken away. And I was like, well, why is Boston able to kind of maintain that? And they're like, well, because there's a lot of old historic buildings in Boston, and so you've got these neighborhoods which they just can't go in for, you know, because of government restrictions and just rip it down and put up, you know, a mall. Or, I mean, that's how I feel in some places I go, where I feel like you're trapped inside a mall, you know? And I think Austin is benefiting in a way similarly, right? I don't think they'll ever be able to, good man, be able to completely take, sorry brother, don't have anything on me, to completely take everything down. I just don't think they'll be able to do it. And that's a good thing. The Weston. You know, you gotta wonder. That's terrible. What can you do? What can you do? You know, watching all this kind of take place around us, you know, so many goods that have come with social media. A lot of evils too. It's interesting how we're seeing now the report, like on, if I see suspicious behavior, I don't know what that means, but I read it on the news. I can call 311 and report it. And I'm assuming what they mean is like people who are congregating and they shouldn't be, right? Like all those people that were at Barton Springs and were swimming and stuff. And I don't know if I like that. And it's funny, I was thinking about social media, that you can also do things like, you know, report inappropriate posts and things that you don't like. And I don't report inappropriate posts, I just ignore them, you know? I don't want to report on people. Even if it's, I know it sounds really innocent to do that, but I mean, do we need Americans to be reporting on other Americans for any reason? And it seems like why don't you just let the police do their job? Look at this. This is pretty cool. Yeah, so I think the cops can do their job. I don't need to report inappropriate posts. And if people are congregating, then as heavily patrolled as areas are, especially down here, I don't think we need to be encouraged to tell on each other. Seems ridiculous, right? Maybe if you see some kind of abuse happening, you can just stop it, you know, or call the police. It's not the same as reporting on suspicious or inappropriate behavior. I don't even know what that is. God, so pretty, man. Taking you back. Somebody left a cool comment, which is like, I hope they save some of this. Look at that. To put in, I guess, something nice to say about the news, I did see them cover some graffiti. And basically, the graffiti was don't use social distancing. Use physical distancing. It's a great distinction. Have a great day.